You think you know what bad medicine is? You think a misdiagnosis or a long recovery is the worst it can get. You are about to enter a world where doctors weren't just wrong. They were terrifyingly, creatively, and lethally insane. Forget malpractice. We're talking about medicine that was pure, unfiltered torture. A world where the official cure for a headache was a hole in your skull, where the prescription for syphilis was a poison that made you go mad, and where the most popular ingredient in the pharmacy was a ground-up human corpse. Buckle up, because these aren't just medical mistakes. These are the cures that were so twisted. They were more horrifying than any disease they were meant to treat. These are the cures that killed. First up, the original headache cure from hell, trepanation. For thousands of years, if you had a seizure, a migraine, or even just a bad mood, the doctor had one answer. He'd take a sharpened piece of flint, or later a hand crank drill, and carve a hole directly into your skull, while you were wide awake. The logic was as insane as the procedure itself. They believed evil spirits were trapped inside your head, and drilling a spear hole was the only way to let them out. It was a demonic eviction notice served with a power tool. The most unhinged part? We found skulls that healed over, meaning some people actually survived this nightmare. But for every survivor, countless others were left with permanent brain damage or died in screaming agony, all because the doctor thought their brain just needed a little ventilation. But physical brutality was just the beginning. Let's talk about the miracle poison they called mercury. For centuries, this shimmering liquid metal was considered a wonder drug. Chinese emperors drank it hoping for eternal life. European doctors prescribed it for everything from the common cold to syphilis. They didn't just give you a pill. They made you rub it on your skin as an ointment, inhale its toxic fumes, and drink it in lethal cocktails. The result was a slow-motion horror show. Your teeth would loosen and fall out. Your hair would disappear in clumps. Your organs would slowly liquefy, and your brain would turn to mush, plunging you into a state of violent madness. They called it the mercurial rage. You weren't being cured. You were being chemically disassembled by the very person paid to save you. Now, we enter the realm of the truly grotesque. For hundreds of years, the most sought-after medicine in Europe was an herb or a mineral. It was people. Welcome to the world of corpse medicine. Doctors and pharmacists would take the mummified remains of ancient Egyptians, grind them into a fine black powder called mummy dust, and sell it as a cure-all for everything from a cough to the plague. The demand was so huge, a black market for corpses exploded. Grave robbers sold the bodies of executed criminals and plague victims to apothecaries, who would pass them off as ancient pharaohs. But it gets worse. In ancient Rome, epileptics would gather at the Colosseum to do the unthinkable. After a gladiator was killed, they would rush into the arena, cup their hands, and drink the warm blood straight from the wound. They believed the life force of a powerful warrior could cure their disease. This wasn't some back alley cult. This was medically approved, socially accepted cannibalism. Imagine your doctor writing you a prescription for a cup of fresh human blood. The disease has to be better than that cure. And just when you think it can't get any weirder, let's talk about how they treated drowning victims. The solution, endorsed by the medical establishment for over a century, was the tobacco smoke enema. Yes, you heard that right. A rescue would take a special kit, which was basically a bellows with a tube, and they would literally blow smoke up the victim's rectum. The theory was that the warm, irritating smoke would stimulate the internal organs and shock the person back to life. It was resuscitation by rectal fumigation. They installed these kits along the River Thames, in London, like defibrillators. It was completely, utterly useless. But for 100 years, the first response to pulling someone from the water was not CPR. It was to give their colon a cigarette break, drilling holes in heads, drinking poison, eating the dead and blowing smoke where the sun doesn't shine. This was medicine. It exposes a terrifying truth. When humanity is desperate, logic dies, and any idea, no matter how insane, can seem like a cure. These treatments remind us that the line between a healer and a killer is sometimes just a really, really bad idea. So the next time you get a prescription, be thankful, because not that long ago, the cure was often the most brutal part of being sick.